What is up, guys? I just got a video request to do a demonstration of short foot, specifically going through the ankle range of motion and engaging short foot. So this is perfect because I'm all snuggled up in some warm clothes because I'm cold in my house and I want to transition to doing a little bit of exercise. So short foot and warming up my feet and my balance is a great place to start any kind of functional training you want to do, especially if it's going to be on your feet. But if it's, even if you're lying down, get your feet nice and warm. So this question came from someone who specifically has functional hallux limitus. I'm not going to go off on a huge tangent about that, but their question comes up from wanting to preserve the functional range of motion of their first MPJ, their first ray, right? Look at Dr. Emily's videos, Dr. Splichal's videos for much more detailed information. And if you need some help maybe translating what she says, because it goes way over your head, as it did for mine for years, and I'm sort of caught up with her through her certifications and through doing my own background research to be able to hang and understand what the heck she's talking about, because she's so brilliant and so knowledgeable. Sometimes for us lay people, it's like, I'm just trying to get in this game. I know you're telling me something important, but it's going over my head. So come to me with questions. I would be so honored. But in the meantime, let's talk about short foot and the specific question. So short foot, I have another video. My dog is knocked out in the back. I'm on one knee, and I want something soft under it, because it's not so fun. I might not be able to find anything. Hold on. Let's not destroy a knee while we work on our foot. Okay, here's a towel. Good enough. So short foot, I have a video about this, named by legendary podiatrist and movement mechanist Vladimir Yonda, is an exercise to create a tripod stability, a stable, what we think of as the tripod foundational foot, with the muscles intrinsic to the foot and muscles that are deep in the calf. So these pants are a little tight to roll up, but the idea, what I want you to appreciate, and the reason it was worth pulling up those pants, is because one of the central muscles, and this is going to come up in what we demonstrate in a minute, is your posterior tibialis. And that is deep to all this beefiness. Deep, it actually, part of its attachment is the webbing between your tibia and your fibula on the outer side of the shin. So tibia is that hard shin bone, and then the little accessory muscle, or accessory bone, you could say, it doesn't bear weight. It's mostly there as an attachment point to give your muscles more things to traction on for the importance of what we're talking about. So the way to activate short foot, there's several different videos. You can think of it shortening, pulling the ball of the foot towards the heel of the foot. That might be sort of where the name comes from. And as you do so, you are doming the arch, and hopefully you're seeing a little bit of the activation of the muscle that will be the equivalent on my thumb, because your first ray originally was formed kind of like your thumb in primate days. And you want to imagine that muscle, you want to feel that definition as it is squeezing down to the floor. So as it domes, the action of those toes is down. The ball of my foot gets lighter. It doesn't do that, although I have contact with that tripod. And by the way, my hamstring is on fire, because these muscles, this activation here, will pull all the way up your leg, fascial spiral lines to your pelvic floor. And this is a big part of how, relating to my balance videos, how we create a conversation between our pelvic floor and the surface of the ground, right? The surface of the earth that we are traversing, and that connection from our center of gravity to our contact point. So again, I am squeezing my foot to bring the arch up, and I'm driving my toes down. I'm not letting them crunch like this, because you can see while I have lots of arch there, I'm pulling off the floor. I make this big fuss in my classes when we do our balance work, and I say, I don't want you to scrunch your toes. I want you to push the toes down. We have flexor muscles, flexors that push our toes, that activate our toes, that both crunch and drive down. And it's hard to see the drive down ones because it doesn't make anything visible on the foot. But there is specifically more pressure under my toe as I push down with those muscles. By the way, I didn't start being able to do this. Part of why I'm on this big mission to help people with their bodies and their feet is because of my own recovery process. I had horribly weak, enfeebled feet from being clubfoot as a baby and having surgery, being in a cast, wearing orthotics for 30 years. My feet were so weak and honestly barely functional. I was getting all kinds of back pain. I had really enfeebled my body with the best of intentions, but I was a mess. So I just want to encourage you, if when you're doing this exercise, you're not sure what it's supposed to feel like, just keep trying. And again, I'm emphasizing for you that what you're aiming for is that, oops, different exercise, right? What you're aiming for is to feel the ball of the foot come towards the heel, toes are driving down. Foot feels like it is squeezing the earth, not lifting off the earth, okay? So that's number one, and of course different arch height and different instep height is going to look and feel different, but you are stabilizing. Again, imagine that shock absorption, right? You are really giving buttress to the bony structure of the foot with the muscles, so that you're not just bottoming out, right? Bottoming out into the foot when you are trying to ask for power. Now, the question this person had was if I could bring the foot through different ranges of ankle position. So here's my ankle in dorsiflexion, and here would be my ankle approaching plantar flexion, although I haven't brought it off the ground. I'm going to show you that version in a minute. The toe is sort of lifted. I got distracted, okay? But pushing down this would be a plantar flexed foot. I'm really feeling my shin. I'm really feeling the top of the foot. And I am grabbing for the ground. I am still grabbing for the ground. As I bring it up, say I'm doing a squat. Imagine, I know I'm in a lunge here, but imagine I'm doing a squat. I'm bearing weight. I'm coming down from my squat. And I'm going to keep asking for this action. All right? Keep asking for that action. Come up and down. And up. Arch should not collapse. You see this all the time when people do their squats and they don't have this action here. Again, it doesn't have to look that way. And again, this is an awkward squat because obviously I'm just trying to be in this video here. This is unrealistic. I'm leaning really far forward, so don't ignore anything of the form other than the feet. You just don't want to see this collapsing in. Part of how you can re-achieve that is at your hips. But part of how you can achieve that is driving those toes down, getting stronger at the base, and activating the hips. And what were we just talking about? What were we just talking about in terms of this foot position is relating to my hamstring? Let it off, less hamstring. Boom. Grab that floor. I am feeling this. Now, for the question about the plantar flexion, I didn't get any clarification, but I'm guessing what the person is talking about is for actually doing calf raises with short foot, because once the foot surface comes off the ground, it's like, well, you don't have as much of a visual indicator. But getting back to one of the primary muscles that is involved in creating and stabilizing your short foot is your posterior tibialis. It's also like the adductor hallucis, like we talked about, that the muscle here that you were seeing some of that definition on, and it truly activates all the intrinsic muscles of your feet, all the muscles inside the foot itself, let alone muscles that cross from the foot to the ankle, the posterior tibialis being an example of one such muscle. So when you pull your heel up, however, this becomes a very posterior tibialis, or post-tib, is the way you'll hear that abbreviated, post-tib dominant movement. Because if your posterior tibialis is not on, and you come up over the toe, you very likely could fall this way, or you could fall this way. This would be weak posterior tibialis. Major indicator here is if you are rolling over the inside of that toe. And you're going to see that's really going to create bunion pain, and this toe is going to complain. That joint is going to be abused. The ray itself is going to be irritated. There could be a whole cascade of things. So without going onto a hallux limitus conversation, just general purpose, here's how I want you to think about your short foot activation in plantar flexion that isn't just foot is staying close to the ground, but functional plantar flexion, which is me pushing my foot through space, going that way. So here I am. I'm just gonna, I think you can still hear okay. I like to do lots of different types of calf raises, and they've been a big part of making my feet and ankles and calves stronger in my overall recovery. But here is a posterior tibialis dominant calf raise. So first, for distinction, here would be my calf raise, just straight up and over, straight up and over, straight up and over. Another one I really like to do is a more peroneal group emphasized. So this looks like I'm falling out over my toes, but I'm actually very specifically lowering, rolling down. It's just not that exaggerated, okay? But I'm really feeling that on the outside of my shin. And then finally, again, just those two were to show the distinction that if I'm going to do a post-tib one, you often see Dr. Emily will put a ball between the sort of meaty pocket of your ankle, so know where it's going to hurt, and you will face your feet forward, and as you come up, you are squeezing that ball so that at the top, you're giving this flick action, all right, this little flick action. That's exaggerated. It doesn't have to look that dramatic for it to work, but you're going to feel that spiral up. And what I'm showing you is that that spiral up associates with the lifted arch. That's the lifted arch in the plantar flexed foot, to the best of my knowledge. All right? So up. Up. So here's my short foot on the ground. Short foot stays in dorsiflexion. Don't let those toes down. This is actually a good drill. You can bend, keeping your nice, solid, disciplined short foot. It might change, but you're trying to not let it change. And then finally bringing it up into plantar flexion and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Don't let that, here, this is I'm showing you from the side view, my heel is doing that little twist, that little swivel at the top. Again, maximizing that arch from that beautiful muscle that wraps under your foot, attaches to like 9 different parts. It is like a hand that reaches under your foot, and so you want to imagine that as you come up. It's going to look different on every foot shape and every foot type. But I appreciated the question. I hope my explanation was useful and not terribly overly rambly. And I'll see you guys for more practice again soon. Thank you for the question and for the chance to follow up on it.